I've always got this thought, Ben, that cheap in, cheap out, right? So if you buy cheap in, you get cheap out. But if you're still getting an average property in a great suburb is better than a great property in an average suburb. So it kind of can play with people's mind. But I always think it comes down to four things: growth, yield, vacancy rate, and quality of the tenant. And those last two really are the important points for this discussion here, because if you are on a busy road, quite often the quality of the tenant tends to diminish because the large percentage of the population don't want to be on a busy main road. So for me, it's around a discussion around whether or not you want to get into some challenges with the type of tenant that you get. Now, there are busy roads and there are busy roads, Ben. There are people who want to get into a suburb who can't afford it. It might be the only option. So there are exceptions to that. But for me, it's a framework around understanding capital growth and yield. Sure, lower price, the yield might level, and even the growth might not lag that behind something else. But it's the last two. It's around the potential for vacancy and the potential for the quality of the tenant that needs to be considered when considering questions like this.
Yeah, so the data does show that it definitely lags, Bryce, but it can't lag too much. In other words, you can't have $5 million houses one street back and only have a $400,000 house on the main road. There will be a buyer, but you just see it in the demand supply. When they get listed, when they go to auctions, the number of people that are interested, buyers and all of that, they're just not as interested, right? Because you're not getting the owner-occupier. You're potentially getting the investor who's having a view, look, I'm going to get that property in that particular location. But as you say, when the tram's coming down the road or the big VWs are coming down and or the train lines are ringing and you constantly hear that and the house shutters, that's the X variable that the tenant doesn't stay for a long period of time, right? So you normally get a lower socio-demographic tenant in that particular location because they do want to be in the better area, the amenity and all of those types of things. So you just get a few more headaches with those types of properties. And it's a slight adjustment in terms of the long-term performance of those areas. And that's where the data is quite amazing. I mean, we now have the ability to, in a suburb, to put hexagon colours over 50-metre square areas and look at the colour difference in terms of house sales. And you can see it. I mean, along a riverfront, 2 streets back, beachfront, 2 streets back, busy road, 2 streets back. That's the sort of stuff that we can see in the data now, because you can get these overlays and you can interpret that data and get those insights a lot quicker than what the old manual process was, where you literally studied it for hours and hours and hours. And so, Jeremy, I think, has done that research to say that it's not materially different, but it is still different. But you've got to look at those other factors in terms of how you're going to be dealing with that, how you're going to be dealing with the wear and tear. Houses move when big V-dubs come past it, right? Big trucks come past, when tram lines, I mean, they are heavy steel. Those houses can shake a little bit, right? And so that's the sort of element that you've got for those really, really busy roads where you don't get necessarily attract the owner-occupied buyer.
We just have a blanket rule: we don't buy on busy roads. And if an owner-occupier has a brief that to get into that suburb and the busy road isn't sort of Grand Central Station, we might have a very minor variation of that. But as an investment, we just don't buy on busy roads. Hopefully that helps you.